the fake professor, and the final experiment.
Before I respond to the claim that TFE is not an experiment, I'm
Just going to pause you there, Will. Your observation of the sun is not, I hate to break it to you, an experiment. You go in there to the south under the understanding there's only two choices of our realm. One is the globe earth theory, which I hate to break it to you, Will, is physically impossible. Alright? Tested and verified by all. Two, the alternative to your globe earth concept is the mainstream interpretation of the flat earth, which comes with all sorts of visuals, propaganda and baggage, and as a result has been rejected now by most people because of those reasons. So your observation only comes into the realms of experimentation should anyone be foolish enough to entertain it and create the false dichotomy of globe earth versus flat earth, which is just a silly charade, Will. It's been highlighted to you time and time again. You're relying on a concept of the flat earth which has been pushed into the mainstream by the mainstream. That should be a warning bell. Anyway, but no, Will is on a mission. He's short-sighted. He's got the blinkers down. He cannot see clearly because of this final experiment that he's really pushing.
just mention something, which is that this entire argument from the flat earthers really appears to be driven by fear. When you attack the name of something, I can't...
Yes, I'm terrified that should you see a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, Will, suddenly the molecular structure of large standing bodies of water is going to change. Yeah, I'm terrified that our physical reality will twist and contort and change should you see a light in the sky go round you in December in Antarctica. Get real, Will. Some people who've maybe pushed the flat earth concept are in on a grift. Maybe they're frightened, and they've got good reason to be, because they're getting found out left, right and centre, as this whole charade has done, exposed many people and their faulty logic. But there's no fear here of the results, particularly from the demonstrable realist side of the argument. Not that reality is up for argument, but the point being, I don't fear this observation in any shape or form. The only thing I'm fearful of is the people that are going. I just don't trust them. And as a result, I don't think this can be used in any shape or form to fill in the gaps of the bigger picture of where we are. Because the representatives, for example, of the flat earth community are not even trusted by their own community. So we've got a bit of a problem, haven't we?
Think of any logical reason you would do this other than to avoid the actual argument, which in this case is whether or not there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
Well, if it circles the viewer in Antarctica in December, I find that fascinating. Does that scare me? No. Does that refute anything I've said over the last 10 years? No. Does that cost me in any shape or form? No, because I'm not in on a grift. None of those things, none of my claims are affected, regardless of what happens in Antarctica. I can't speak for others, because some people have pushed things they should have verified before they pushed them. But hey, we won't mention any names today.
For example, when I hear people criticize Professor Dave as not being a real professor, all I hear in that is that Professor Dave must be making an argument they cannot refute, which is why they are attacking his YouTube channel's name.
Wrong. Professor Dave is not a professor. Professor Dave is just an ordinary guy. In fact, bear with me, Will. 2 seconds. Take it away, Dave.
I didn't know what the channel was going to become. I didn't know it was going to become the the centerpiece of my life, and that I'd become successful and everything, and that I'd go on to explain dozens of other topics, including topics I know nothing about, but I hire experts in the field to write me the scripts, and then consultants to look at the scripts and look at the finished animations and make sure it's all good, right? I'm not professing to be an expert, honestly, in any academic field, not even chemistry, but I understand it very well. And then the stuff that I don't.
So you're not a professor, Dave. You get other people to do your work. But strangely enough, you're cited as a professor on YouTube and promoted as a professor by YouTube, who I believe in 2017 tweaked their algorithms to stop liars and misrepresenters and propaganda and misinformation. But strangely enough, that didn't apply to Dave. They promoted Dave as a professor, giving millions of subscribers. Do you know why they promoted him? Because he attacks a straw man flat earth using propaganda and misrepresentations under the banner of Professor Dave. And as a result, YouTube promotes the living daylights out of a man who really, by their own standards, they should be shutting down for misrepresentations and misinformation. He's anything but a professor. Back to Will.
Is that Professor Dave must be making an argument they cannot refute, which is why they are attacking his YouTube channel's name.
Wrong, as I just showed. He's not a professor. By rights, YouTube's own algorithms should have nominated the fake Professor Dave to the bottom of the barrel of the search engines. But no, the narrative is at play. Dave's here to promote the globe earth theory indirectly on his channel and destroy the concept of the flat earth, which has been put out there by the mainstream media. And as a result, rather than put Dave on the pile of misinformation, they promoted the fake professor. Dear oh dear.
I mean, if you can refute his argument, wouldn't you just do that instead?
Demonstrable reality refutes Dave's arguments when he says the earth is a sphere residing in the middle of a vacuum. Demonstrable reality refutes everyone's arguments who claims the earth is a globe. Simple. That's why you require concepts in the mix to muddy the water and to give the globogandists some ammunition to fire at, because they've got no practicality to cite, have they?
Wouldn't that be way more powerful than claiming he's not a professor? I have no idea if Professor Dave is a real professor or not, and frankly, I don't care. Names and brand identity really have nothing to do with the product or information being offered.
Wow, so you've got no problem whatsoever with people misrepresenting themselves, and you've got no problem with the hypocrisy of YouTube by promoting the people that in their own eyes in 2017 was misinformation. You not see the problems here, the hypocrisy at play, the double standards at play here, Will. Also, you can promote your observation and turn it into an experiment. This is silly. This really has gotten silly.
Most of you probably frequent Starbucks, right? I don't hear you complaining about the lack of stars or mermaids on.
I don't buy tacky American products, Will. I'd rather make my own coffee. I'm more of a tea person anyway. But what's your Starbucks with your symbolism got to do with Professor Dave, the fake professor? This has gotten silly. We got an observation that requires concepts, and if you go there defending a concept, you're now giving this observation clout, and in turn turning it into, in the naive viewers of the mainstream, turning this observation into an experiment. You know how the propaganda machine will get behind this. But this is ridiculous. Fake professors, fake experiments, concepts that most people don't believe in, shady characters that many people certainly don't trust, but strangely enough, they're meant to be representing the community. the community that doesn't trust them. What a mess this has turned into. This would have never happened if we just simply stood by what is. That's all we need. But because people push concepts, now look at the silliness we got to entertain in December. And it's a shame, because it's an observation I want done. But I don't trust any of the participants in this silly charade. And as a result, it doesn't matter what they tell me, I'm not going to believe it, which is a shame. Because I want to see the observation. And if it does circle the viewer in Antarctica in December, I find that fascinating. Doesn't scare me in the least. Doesn't refute a thing I've said, ever. It just contributes to the bigger picture of where we are. And if the sun does circle the viewer in Antarctica in December, then this place is far more interesting and far more mystical than I originally thought. Have a good one, everyone.